Welcome to Iowa Pagan News, your informative internet radio station catering to all pagans worldwide. We are dedicated to bringing you the very best in music, news, events, and lots of fun stuff. Come tune into our new podcast at www.plrdn.podbean.com. Now, here is your host, Lou Silverwolf Williams.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Pagan Artist Spotlight on the National Pagan Network. And okay, there she is. I just dropped her for. She dropped for just a.
I dropped myself. I dropped myself. I'm so sorry. It was saying I could stream this to my audience, so then I was going to, and then it was like bye, and I was like, where'd I go? Here I am. I'm back. Hello.
All right. So again, I want to welcome everyone to Pagan Artist Spotlight on the National Pagan Network. And this afternoon, I'm joined by my special guest, Jenna Matlin. And she is a author from Llewellyn. And she is also, she does a bunch of different things that we're going to be talking about today and getting to know Jenna a little bit. She is the author of Tarot Readers Are True Time Wizards, I should say, and hails from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And
thank you.
I want to welcome Jenna onto the show. Thank you for taking time out.
Hi, thank you. I want to make a quick correction. The name of my book is actually called Will You Give Me a Reading? The Time Wizards is what I taught for the LlewellynCon, but that is in the chapter. So,
gotcha. Okay, well, I would say because that's what originally caught my interest. Because I happen to have assisted with a friend of mine that is also in the pagan community. He's also the head of the Pagan Rights Coalition, but he published two books that tells the story of H.G. Wells and his time machine. So basically, that's what caught my interest to begin with. But yeah, we're going to be finding out a lot about you today. So how long have you been writing?
Well, I think I've been writing for most of my life, but Will You Give Me a Reading is my first traditionally published books. I have two earlier written books that were self-published, and then I do a lot of writing just for myself on the side.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I know that when the powers that be at Llewellyn asked authors to be guests on their LlewellynCon, I know that's got to be a big deal.
I guess so. I don't think I realized what a big deal it was until it happened. And then afterwards, I'm so kind of busy in my own little bubble. Like, I'm like, wait, what's going on? Where? Oh, this is a big thing. Oh, Llewellyn's great. They've been great to work with. I was in Denver, last month for the INATS, the metaphysical store, kind of, what do you call it, conference or working group. And I got to know them all a little bit better. And Llewellyn is just so much fun. The people of Llewellyn are great.
Yeah, they are. In fact, I know Marcus up at the office in Minneapolis, and he and I have many discussions, and he tends to send me boxes of books every once in a while. And it's like, good grief, Marcus. It's like,
yeah, at Llewellyn, it's so cool. And I went to Minneapolis in early May, and I went to hang out at Llewellyn and give a talk. And the coolest thing is you go on a tour, and they have a library kind of in the middle of it all. And this library has amazing occult resources dating back to like the end of the 1800s. And I only had like 20 minutes in there, but I honestly can tell you it was the coolest thing to see. And I was like, I want to camp out here and go through all of this. So just FYI, if you guys are visiting, go check out this amazing Llewellyn library they have.
Yeah, I'll have to take a trip up there myself. I think one of these days.
Mm-mm.
I definitely enjoy it. So, what would you say that your spiritual path is?
Oh, my spiritual path. You're asking me that question, and we're not even on a first date, Earl. Come on. No, just kidding. I think a lot of us, whatever our background, our cultural, family, religion of origin, that some of us have always been had a pagan bent from very, very young, even if we didn't have the words to describe it. Like I remember being 10 and playing this game of like strewing rose petals down this path. Like I, I'm actually getting I'm blushing because it's like so private, but I'll share it. Um, and I did that for Artemis, and that many of us gravitate to these folklores,
Mm,
right? But it's really this deeper calling. So that was always true for me. I did have a family that was intermittently religious, meaning when dad was sober, we were religious. When dad wasn't, we weren't. And I remember at the age of, how old was I? Like 12 or 13. I was just like, I don't know, man. Like this God is all about saying no all the time. But when I'm out hiking in nature, all I hear is yes. This doesn't seem to fit. So I renounced it. And I remember I had to really stand up to my stepfather. He wanted to force me to go to church. And I was like, well, then I will go in these pajamas and I will embarrass you, but I'm not changing. And I remember the youth pastor going to my mother and saying, he had deep concerns about me because I was listening to rock and roll and I was playing D&D.
mm-hmm.
So I was like, yeah, but so that's kind of the story. And then from there, I fell into Wicca, in the early 90s, read Scott Cunningham's books, was in my first coven at like, I want to say 19, 18, 19, with someone who studied under Raymond Buckland back in the day. And then I did that for a few years. And then I don't know, it's been kind of this meandering, where do I need to be called next? And I try to listen. So
Mm,
that's in a nutshell kind of my story.
okay, nice. Have you ever had a chance to visit the Buckland Museum up there?
No, I have not. I have not.
Is yeah, that's up in Salem. Yeah, I think.
I'll check it out. Yeah, I would love to see that actually. Yeah, but I don't know. Like it just feels like so much of the pagan community. Oh yeah, and then I went to Humboldt State University up in Northern California, and
Okay.
I started the first pagan awareness network, PAN, and I was president of that for 2 years until I graduated. But they never had a pagan club until then, and we had to continue to put a lot of flyers out because they'd be taken down by the Christian club, believe it
Yeah.
or not.
Oh yeah.
Um, and it was hard to find a teacher at that time in like the late 90s that would even be our advisor, even in a place as liberal as Northern California, I had trouble doing that. So I came into it early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. There are certain areas that seem to be more accepting than others, and I know in the Bay Area it's a lot more accepting
Hmm. Yeah.
because I do have some connections out in the Bay Area. Um, Now, if you well, let's see, if you're up in North Carolina now, but if you would have ventured up into Oregon,
Hmm.
there's a huge community in Oregon.
Is that by where is it? The place where they do the Shakespeare Festival?
Yeah, Eugene.
Eugene. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I knew people that were part of covens that went up there, but I would drive down to San Francisco when Starhawk they were doing those huge events
Okay.
still in San Francisco, like in the early aughts,
Yep.
where you'd have trapeze. I mean, it was amazing. Um, and then I left the country and then I was on the East Coast, so totally different vibe. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I know that well, there's also a good sized community up in North Carolina, up in your neck of the woods too.
Probably near Asheville. I've not like I know there's groups here, but I moved here and then the pandemic hit. So it still feels like trying to feel my way through. And so is everybody else, at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Asheville is the area to be in.
Yeah.
And uh, well, one of my good friends, who's also a Llewellyn author,
Mm.
uh, she lives up there, and her name is Byron Ballard.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Uh, she would be a really good person for you to connect up with.
Yeah, definitely. I will we'll see about making a connection for sure.
Yeah, because she's written some really good books. She's considered to be uh, uh, mm, she's considered to be a mother to a lot of people. And she's just a fantastic person to be around.
Awesome.
So, okay, now um, for your readings, what style of readings do you primarily do?
Style, do you mean like what tools I'm using or my
Yeah, what
approach?
tools
Uh,
and
mhm.
I mean, what do you base your readings on?
What do I base my readings on? Ooh, what a question that is. I mean, the 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 surface level answer to that is tarot, Lenormand, but
Hmm.
that is like the reducible answer. The deeper answer is and mediumship and clairvoyance and what's happening around us during the session.
Hmm.
Um, and tons of other tools that I use tangentially, like charm casting, sometimes I Ching. Um, but most of it comes down to my approach, which is what are we here to explore or resolve for you? And it's not coming from me. I'm really just trying to be a conduit and be as faithful to the message that is being basically shouted at you and at us all, as faithfully as I can.
Okay. Is there a certain deity that you call on for reading it while you're doing your readings, or?
Oh boy. Well, there are a number of different ones depending on kind of what I'm vibing with this year, that year. I mean, Hecate has had a outsized influence on my life. And as I'm finding myself, I'm like now in my officially mid to late 40s, as I'm approaching the threshold of my crone time, a lot of things are shifting around me. So right now I'm kind of listening, because it feels like I'm heading through yet another threshold of my lifetime. And I know that things are going to move and shift and change within that. Um, I would also say, oh gosh, I've worked with so many, and the pantheons that I use are very often very eclectic. My first degree is in anthropology,
Okay.
obviously, like of course. So I really worked with a lot of Sumerian deities many many years ago, very heavily actually. Um, I was in Ireland this last year, so working with Irish deities, Celtic deities has always been part of um my relationship. Um but sometimes I'm not that interested in giving a name or like a box category. Sometimes I work with deities that may not have names I understand or can even say. Like a name could be the smell of something or
Hmm.
a feeling of a moment, if that makes any sense. Um, and I know when I can feel when that energy descends and to pay attention and to stop what I'm doing.
Okay. All right. As I say, because I know when people take trips over to Ireland and
Mhm.
spend time over there, there's one certain area that a lot of people wind up congregating to that is a basically very spiritual place for them, and they basically find that they have either a spiritual awakening or that their energy is a lot more positive and lighter when they basically when once they've spent time there.
Agree. I ran a retreat to Ireland last year, and it was to help people build and practice upon their psychic abilities because there is a bit of a signal boost function that
Mhm.
happens in Ireland. So even if you're like, well, I don't think I'm that psychic or whatever, you will be there. And that makes things a lot easier. Um, and it wasn't until I went there that I really understood the sacred nature and ancient nature of well work and working with wells and how feminine that is and very goddess like. And even though, it got co opted by the Catholic faith and with new names kind of stuck on it, you feel the power that emanates below that still thrumming. It's an incredible experience to be part of or even just to feel. Um, so yeah, there's something about Ireland that I would say, and I've done a lot of traveling overseas, but there's something about Ireland that just you don't notice it necessarily when you're there, but then when you leave, it just sinks its claws into you, and you do want that feeling of wanting to return in a very sweet kind of way. Yeah, so maybe not claws, I don't know, but it has a way of beguiling you back, um, that is just really unique to that island.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that. Uh, Now going on to your website here,
Mhm.
I see that you come up with a unique thing here called Hell Yes Universe.
Hell yes, universe. Mhm. That's my newsletter that I put out. Right now I'm doing it twice, like twice a month, which just readings for people by their elemental of their sun sign. And I've been doing that for a few years. But yeah, like coming to tarot, coming to divination, um, is really an act of not ameliorating my anxiety. I don't think that that's the way we come to it, but in a way of just surrendering and releasing and accepting what shows up.
Right.
And that's like one of the things I talk about in my book is that there's been a shift in how humans see diviners and the level of entitlement that modern man has over it is mind-boggling, especially when you read about how people went to the Oracle of Delphi. Like you had to go up this mountain and she's going to give you a riddle, and it's built in such a way that it needs the time that it's going to take for you to unpack it, and that you should be lucky you get anything. But nowadays, people want to see divining as an act of like, Google, like it's a analog Google. Is it on Tuesday or is it on Wednesday? Is it with Chad or is it with Seth? You know what I mean?
Okay.
And you're like, wait a minute, like we're lucky we get anything from spirit here. Like we have to come at this a little more humbly because we're we are in service to the divine. The divine is not necessarily always in service to us. And so that is something I talk about with my clients and my students is that shift in relationship.
Okay. Um, I see that we're still using the old magic 8 ball.
I
I remember those things. Like,
think I have one around here somewhere.
it just surprises me that it's like, okay, still using the magic 8 ball. I remember those things. Like, okay,
Mhm.
back, let's see, back, what was it, last year? There was like five of us doing a roundtable discussion. and we were talking about the similarities and differences between mind, body, and spirit.
Hmm.
And we were having quite a deep discussion on this. And before we were due to get wrapped up and whatnot, um, all of a sudden, video goes haywire, audio goes haywire. Nobody knows what's going on. StreamYard has no clue what's going on. And so we had to end off the session early, but we all got the sense that the universe was saying, you guys are getting way too close to what's actually happening here. You guys are getting
Hmm.
way too deep. You're done. It's like, nope,
Mm.
you're done for the night.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's like the universe is saying, nope.
Yes. Yes.
We that's kind of what we chalked it up to. And it's like, yeah, we've learned that there's just certain topics that we stay away from now.
Or spirit's going to shut it all down.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. And I mean, we still get a chuckle out of it from time to time. And basically, anytime now that we do a roundtable discussion, we always have to make sure that we're not getting into deep philosophical topics or anything that's going to trigger the universe to shut us down again.
So funny. Oh my goodness.
So, okay, now let's see. Let me get back here right quick. Now,
Mm.
uh, yeah. So basically, I know that you said that you do you do certain a lot of different types of readings, whether it be tarot, whether it be uh,
Lenormand, charms, I Ching, mediumship, just straight up clairvoyance, any and all. Yeah.
okay. So tell me more about the I Ching, because I've not heard too much about that.
Oh my God, I love the I Ching. I love the I Ching so much. And I love the Chinese cosmology of 5 elements, right? Not 4 like we have in the West.
Mhm.
Um, and that those elements interact with one another, right? So it's a very synergistic process of, does this element feed the other element, or is it destroying or minimizing the other element, right? So I love that synergistic process. And in the I Ching, a hexagram is made by 2 trigrams, right? So it's 6 lines, but
Okay.
those 6 lines are really the combination of 3 lines, like 2, 3 lines kind of talking to each other.
Okay.
And so each hexagram is a combination of 2 hexagrams. So one of my favorite ones, one of the meanings of it is kind of like returning or coalescing.
Hmm.
It has the first trigram of earth, and then it has the second trigram of lake. So it's the idea of like a lake pulling in like the valley of a mountain or in the mountains.
Okay.
And so I find the I Ching, which you can toss with joss sticks or coins or whatever, there's a ton of ways to do it, is going to get you to an hexagram that gives you advice about what's to come or how to handle something. Um, Benabel Wynn is coming out with her book on it, coming up soon. I think it could be September or October, and I cannot wait. And I'm hoping that it really it kind of makes I Ching popular. I remember I Ching was really quite popular as well as feng shui uh, in the late 90s. And then it's kind of gone quiet. So I'm really hoping we come back around because I find it very fun.
Interesting. Now, I've got two friends of mine that do bone throwing.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Have you ever explored that aspect?
Yeah, you know what? I have a book on bone throwing or like bone and shells and tchotchkes. I haven't super gotten into it yet just because as a vegetarian, vegan, when I'm good, it's really important for me that if I were to source bones, that it really comes from a very humane source or an accidental source.
Right.
So if I'm out in the woods and if I find like a deer, if there's like their vertebrae and they've obviously died on their own, I would feel no problem with taking those bones. Um, so I just been kind of waiting actually for that to show up for me as a sign of that it's time for me to take that modality on.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I got to admit that when I first got introduced to that blew my mind. Uh,
Yeah.
I never knew that you could actually do readings with bones, and
Mm,
that just kind of really blew my mind. So it was a learning experience for me there.
mm. I think you do with everything. I mean, traditionally, they also have entrail divination, right? Where you kill an animal and then you open it up and the way its intestines look or its innards look is supposed to somehow give you an answer about the question that you're considering. Of course, I would never do that myself. um,
So
um, but yeah, I mean, I think you can make anything the substrate with which to connect to the divine. Like I've even done cloud castings where I'm looking at how clouds change shape over over like a few minutes. And then I'm looking at the different shapes in order to divine a message from the clouds. I've done that. I've done it with just about everything.
okay. So now, uh, how often do you do your classes and coaching?
Yeah. So right now, I'm probably going to be offering a class in August, maybe mid-August or September. I'm having a hard time nailing some dates that are really going to work because of the other things I have going on. And I have some online passive classes that people can take on their own on my website. The business coaching, I took a break from it. It was mostly in like the business mechanics of, how to be a tarot reader, full time or as a professional.
Right.
But my interest is more in the client experience, the practicing experience of reading tarot for another. And how do you do that really well? Um, but all this stuff takes time,
Yep.
and that's hard. I'm like, "Where is my time?" So, because I still have to make a living, so it's like just finding ways to be able to offer these things in a way that's sustainable for me, and feels really good to me.
Okay. Interesting.
Oh,
All
I
right.
think I'll have a tarot mediumship course in October too, but I haven't announced it yet.
Ah, okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to take a, quick station break here, and then we'll be back right after this with more with Jenna Matlin. And we're going to, yeah, gonna be diving into some more of what she's all about. So don't go nowhere. We'll be right back right after this.
Sister Moon Apothecary and More is a collaboration of local island witches bringing you handcrafted tools for ritual, amazing apothecary, custom vinyl work, merchandise, and so much more. But we are not just an online store. We are a sisterhood, a platform, and a voice for everything that is magical. Join us for our famous Tarot Tuesdays from 11 to 4 Eastern Standard Time for a discounted reading with our amazing in-house intuitive reader and priestess, Wolf Spirit Energy, Beverly Oberlin. You can find us on Facebook at Sister Moon Store or on the web at sistermoon.shop. So fly on over and stop in for a spell.
You are listening to Pagan Artist Spotlight on the Prairie Land Radio Network and the Podbean Podcast Network.
What's going on, everybody? Cloud the Pagan Rapper here, and you're listening to Iowa Pagan News Radio.
All right. We are back with Jenna Matlin, and we're talking more about based on getting more into her website here and the services that she offers to people, the classes, and and also her book, Will You Give Me a Reading? Now, that has been out since November of last year, right?
Yep.
Okay. Now, do you all, I mean, are you going to be working on a new one or?
Yeah, I have 3 different projects that I'm interested in beginning, and I'm trying to weigh out which one I want to do next. Um, it's just been a lot of time to market my book, after it's been launched, and so now the bulk of that has kind of started to simmer down. Now I'm starting to think of the next phase, for sure.
Okay. And now, are you still doing the Wednesday sessions on YouTube?
I was, but I'm taking a break right now for this summer. I probably have to go through that website and update it. It's been a few months since I've actually this whole year. I don't think I've done it, but yeah. I also do a free book club. So once a month, typically Wednesday afternoons on Zoom. So if people go to my Will You Give Me a Reading? Um, if you go to willyougivemeareading.com, you can sign up for the automation, which will give you options to do some extra cool techniques that weren't in the book. And also, I have a director's cut chapter that didn't make it in the book because I was told it might be a little too spicy. And then finally, I have a monthly free book club that people can sign up for. And we've been going through the book chapter by chapter. So I think I'm taking a break for all of July. Am I? I think I have to check. And if not, then we will begin again in August. And we're going chapter by chapter. It's been really great just to hang out with people. And it's free. Like I try to give a lot of things free or low cost for people. And then I have other things that are paid, but I really want people to be able to access their best tarot reading selves, no matter like what their salary is or lack thereof. I want to be able to offer that for everybody. Um,
Cool.
yeah, I think so.
So the part of it that really caught my attention that you gave your thing on LlewellynCon was that tarot readers are time wizards.
Yes.
So let's get into that a little bit. What was the basis for that section?
Well, wow, that's deceptively simple question with a very long answer. As a full-time tarot reader, I've done probably 11,000 full-time readings, maybe over the years, a lot. And what you learn from being a full-time professional tarot reader are things that really cannot be perceived until you've been doing it a while. And the way I describe that is like, do you remember when you were a kid? And I don't know, I know I did. You probably did too, where you make your own homegrown cartoon, right? And you have like a stack of, index cards or even post-it notes, and each page you're writing one little movement of your stick figure, action figure, right?
Yeah.
To me, that's a reading. Like each reading is one page. And when you get to these high numbers of readings for others, they all start to move like that. And then you start to see like this aggregate force or aggregate energy that's not always perceptible over just one reading or even a handful of readings.
Mhm.
And so as I was doing that, I was like, what's going on here? It's not just about like we are a train on a track, and this idea of what time is. And if my full-time work is questions essentially around time and people's place in time, what the heck is it? What are we doing here?
Mhm.
And is it what I think it is? And if it isn't, am I hemming my own self in by my own preconceived ideas and notions about the nature of time? And that's kind of what started that whole chapter, which is if we're going to become really good diviners and really good readers, we really deserve and owe it to ourselves to understand the weird, wacky nature of time.
Okay. Now, as I say, are we talking about time as in basically our past?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Like one of the first ones I did that kind of broke the rules is when I was in college, I had a number of very intense and vivid dreams about myself in the future.
Mhm.
I was speaking French. I was on a space station. I was some kind of au pair for a family who was working there. And I had at least 5 or 6 of those dreams. Now, I grew up in Southern California. Nobody's speaking French there. Everybody's speaking Spanish, right?
Mhm.
So, the last dream I had, I was trying to go lucid to prove that I was really speaking French because I knew I really was in the dream, but by the time I woke up, I couldn't remember it. And that last dream I had as I was waking up, it was like I was repeating like 3 or 4 sentences over and over and over again to try to wake up with them. And all I had left, like as I was waking up, I was losing it. All I had left was comme si, comme ça. That was the only word left. And I didn't know if it was French or not. And I asked someone and they were like, yeah, that means like más o menos, in Spanish. And so much later I said, well, why are people using tarot to do past life readings if we normally use tarot to read about the future? Why can't we do future life readings? And then I Googled it. I was like, has anyone thought to do this before? And I Googled it and I found nothing. I was like, am I really the first person like online who's it's not anywhere? So I developed a spread for that, which is who is like, give me a future self, right? And then from there, I started springboarding to other really cool readings, like do a reading from future you. So invoke you at 80 years old or whatever year you want. Invoke them to come and give you the reading about you now. I've also done readings to repair your timeline. So you do a reading to go back to you, a younger you, to repair something there or repair a trauma that occurred or a way to give information to a younger you. So I'm always thinking about ways to break the concept that we live in this time universe that's past, present, future. The future is unknown except when we read a tarot, and that the past is done, because physics doesn't work like that. Physics, basically, we can time travel theoretically. And theoretically, in a block universe, past, present, and future are all happening really simultaneously. It's all turning at the same time. And so, how do I, as a reader, play with that or acknowledge that? In terms of time, too, Rachel Pollack and I we were pen pals for a number of years. And her and I are very unique and very similar in that way, that we love time stories and we have a science fiction background maybe in our interests. And how do we use time, or how do we use tarot to break our own concepts of time? So we would always laugh about going to the Amazon jungle. And, if we go to a tribe that has no words for future tenses, and we gave them a deck, what would they do with it? What would they do with it? How would they read it? Or if I went to Australia and sat with some Aboriginal peoples, they have a physical directional idea of time. So time for them is sunrise to sunset. And so when they're talking about things that are happening in the future or the past, they're not going left to right. That their understanding of time is always triangulated against themselves and the planet. Well, wow, isn't that neat? How might that concept of understanding time or cause and effect shift the way we'd read tarot?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, I'm still trying to learn myself because Marcus wound up sending me a brand new tarot deck.
Which one? Which one?
It's a dragon tarot.
Oh, yeah. I think I know that one. I don't have it. I think I need to go hop on the horn to Marcus. Marcus, I
Yeah.
would like a box.
Yeah, because he wanted. I mean, he sent me a box of books, and on top was this brand new tarot deck. And I'm like, okay, what are you trying to tell me here? And I mean, it's a beautiful deck. And just, I mean, I've started trying to work with it, but I know there's still things I need to learn. And because I mean, granted, one of these days I will attempt to use the deck to help others. But yeah, it's gonna. I'm still learning.
So, may I give you some advice, Earl?
Sure.
The more you think about it, the worse you're going to do. Like, you just got to do it. And there's actual evidence for that. So, there's a podcast I was listening to, and I always tell everyone about it because it was really amazing to me. Alan Alda has a podcast called Clear and Vivid. I love Alan Alda. He is like my spirit dad. You know, I just think he's amazing. But he had a neuroscientist come on. And what they did is they did functional MRI images on like comedians who were doing improv, as well as improvisational jazz musicians. So they were scanning their brains as they were doing improv to really try to understand where's the seat of creativity. And when I heard this, I was driving somewhere. I had to pull over to listen because I was like, that's exactly how I teach my students. Oh my God. That when a comedian or a jazz musician has that innate creative hit where they just kind of riff and go, something really interesting happens. Your prefrontal cortex shuts down. That creativity comes from somewhere deeper. And so what happens is when you're being too self-conscious, too self-referential, too self-monitoring, you're just keeping your prefrontal cortex like lit up. And that actually works against what we're trying to get to. So if I had you here, Earl, what I would do is I put a line of people in front of you, but then I'd make you wear blinders. So all you could do is look down at the cards and you wouldn't tell who's there, and make you go. And you would be astounded by what shows up if you let yourself. Really, truly.
Well, I was to say, because there for a while, I could rely upon my empathic senses to be able to assist, but that's kind of dimmed down now. So I'll probably start relying upon other tools. But yeah, that would definitely be interesting. I could definitely see that happening.
You have to come take my class, Earl. Like, really, it's like, and that's what the whole book was about, was really teaching how to read tarot in a very different way, especially if you're neuroatypical, which I am, you know? So how do we read when it's not about like just memorizing a bunch of keywords and correspondences and boxes? Like what's a different way? So I would say that the way I teach tarot is kind of like Montessori school, you know, like where it's like student led and really giving you the space and freedom to play with it. And when you play with it without being worried about whether it's the right keyword, I don't remember, you know, it's incredible actually that you start to build this deeper muscle memory for the work, which is where all of that juicy intuition, that intuitive processing even happens.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, let's get to now. I know that we've been talking about your website, which is JennaMatlin.com. And we've also got the website for the book itself, which is givemeareading.com. So be sure to check that out so you can get a copy of her book that she's got. I'm sure that you'll definitely learn a lot by reading it. And then you can also get in contact with Jenna through her website. And again, she herself said that you tend to hang out more on TikTok and Instagram. So you'll be able to see her there. And then, let's see. We've also got a comment here. Sarah Ann Ogilvie says she loves this. And Sarah, seeing as how you're here, Jenna is offering a free reading this afternoon. So if
Ooh.
you're interested, speak up now or forever hold your peace. Uh, uh, so if you'd like to have a reading, feel free to speak up. And I know that Jenna would be more than happy to do that for you. And yeah, otherwise, this has been a really interesting interview, and every time that I do these, I always learn something new. So that's something positive that comes out of all of this.
Well, Earl, thank you so much for even reaching out to me and offering to host me. It's very kind of you, and thank you.
You're very welcome. Sarah definitely would like to have a reading.
All right, Sarah. So what I'm going to do, actually, I have this. Let me show you what I have. It's what I call my mixy matchy box. It looks like this, and it is a huge, very heavy box of tarot decks, oracles, game pieces, children game pieces, like anything and everything that can be an oracle is put in this deck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull 3 from this mixy matchy box as your reading for the upcoming July. So I'm going to just say, hey, Okay, so we have an oracle card called the Regurgitator. We have the goddess Pele has shown up for you.
Uh-oh, that's a good one.
We have 8 of Wands from those. What was it called? I forgot what this is. It's like Barnes and Noble had these little pocket decks years ago. And then from the Zombie Tarot, we have 2 of Hazards. So here's the message. There's a warning here for you, Sarah. There's somebody who's really annoying in your life. Or someone who has taken your ideas and kind of spun them to make it seem like it's low-key theirs. It could be someone at work or someone in a creative project. And there's a part of you that feels very, very righteous about putting them in their place with that Pele action, right? But with 8 of Wands and 2 of Hazards, the reading is basically saying, don't lose your cool just yet. Like, really, we're in a place of allowing them to, just let them hang themselves with their own rope that they keep grabbing for themselves, that the karma is going to happen for them anyways, without you needing to force it. And you'll know when the time is right. I almost get the feeling when I look at all these cards, it's kind of like a wrestling move. Just when that person thinks that they have you pinned, you turn them on their backs and then they're out. So hold tight to that burning energy to make it right and correct. And the timing will reveal itself, where it will take very little effort on your part for the truth to be revealed and karma to come home to roost. So that's your reading for July.
That's an interesting reading.
Yeah.
Sarah, I hope that resonates for you. And if you definitely want to get with Jenna, you can be able to find her online. Like I said, she hangs out on TikTok and Instagram. You can get through to her on her website and so much more. So be sure to check into it.
Thank you so much for letting me read for you, Sarah Ann.
And Jenna, thank you for taking time out this afternoon to come join me. I do appreciate it. And we will definitely be staying in touch. I'll definitely check out your classes.
Awesome. Thank you, Earl. Thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. And as always, you've been listening to another edition of Pagan Artist Spotlight on the National Pagan Network. Appreciate everyone who tunes in on a regular basis. It's always a pleasure to have everyone come and join us and participate. If you'd like to know more, you can email me directly at earl@iapnradio.net or at iowapagannews@gmail. I will be establishing a new email for Pagan Artist Spotlight, seeing as how I switched the name from Iowa Pagan News over to Pagan Artist Spotlight. So a new email will be generated for that. A new website is under construction for this as well. So be sure to check that out. I'll put out announcements once I have that ready to go. In the meantime, you can also, like I said, you can also contact Jenna online through her website. Also get in contact with her on social media. And I'm pretty sure that she'll be more than happy to spend time with you. With that, pleasant journeys, everyone. Definitely want to thank everyone for tuning in. Have a great weekend. Have a safe holiday coming up.
Bye, everyone.
I'll see you, everyone, again very soon. Pleasant journeys.
Thank you for tuning in to today's broadcast. All shows are recorded and available for download at plrdn.podbean.com. All rights are reserved and may not be replayed without written permission by IAPN Radio Management. Come join us at our new group, IAPN Radio on Facebook, where you can be kept up to date for future broadcasts. Pleasant journeys, everyone.